y'all. How y'all doing? I just trust that you had a good night and everything was going well for you. You know, I wanted to talk a little bit about why we should plant our own food. Um, I understand why we got out of gardening. I understand why we got out of doing anything to have anything to do with a farm life or a plantation life. So I understand how we got away from it all. When I was coming up as a child, we had all kind of fruit trees. No matter what house we moved to, there were always fruit trees, And we had apple trees, pear trees, cherry trees, fig trees. Mom even had a lemon tree in the house. Um, Blackberry bushes, blueberries, and all of this here that we had at our own fingertips. It was already there for us. All we had to do was continue to maintain the trees and make sure they stayed healthy and make sure that we didn't have a reason to cut them down. Well, then as life came about, life had a way of making agriculture a big production in food and our meats, and everything that we do became agricultural related. And because of that, we were pulled out of, or we came out of the plantations, or we came out of the gardens and the fields and went to the grocery store um, for our products instead of growing our own products. Knowing what we put in our food is most important to our well-being. Wondering how cancer has overtaken our bodies is because we are not paying attention to what we're putting into it, to the foods that we're eating. We don't know how they are grown, what type of pesticide, what type of fertilizer, or what type of anything that they're putting into these plants, and not only into the gardens as far as our vegetables are concerned, but what they are feeding the animals in mass production. The animals are not treated humanely, and they are treated as what, meat. And when you watch some of these videos about how they process meats and how they process vegetables and all of that stuff. And I'm not saying there is anything wrong with those things, because the world is a very large place and there's millions of us here. So agriculture, farming has been necessary in order to make sure that we as the mass of the people ate. And because of them, we have survived. But at the same time, we have our small homesteads that are coming up, that are planting their own gardens, that are raising their own animals um, for produce or for to eat, and which is nothing wrong with that. Then you have other homesteads that are raising animals to raise animals and not for meat, and I understand that as well. But it's important that we begin to learn and pay attention to what we place in our bodies. It's worse enough that we cannot control the air that we breathe. Um, Although there are many manufacturers that are distributing a lot of chemical um, vapors into the air, and we're breathing and intaking these things on a second base. Every time we breathe, we're intaking something that we don't know what we are breathing in. And these things that we are breathing, what we are eating, what we are putting on our skin, um, and some of the clothes, in fact, that we wear, some of these things that we have um, are not, um, although we need these things, but does not necessarily mean that they're properly uh, put together or properly produced. So it is very important that we pay attention to that, because right now, in order to cut down the attack of cancer, we must pay attention to what we're intaking into our bodies. And the best thing to do that, since we cannot control the air that we breathe, we can control the water that we drink, although a lot of the water that we drink is also unsafe for us as well. So everything that we're doing to our bodies is harmful, although it is these things are meant in aims to help us, but at the same time, they are destroying us from the inside out. So this is reason why I'm asking that you start studying up more and participating more in your own intake, your own food intake. That's important for you, and it's important for each and every one of us to understand the foods that we are intake. It was a good thing. It's a good thing to raise your own chicken, to have your own lamb and sheep and beef cattle and dairy cattle. And I've been watching a lot of this on YouTube. These different farmers and everything, and they're doing beautiful jobs. But not all of them are doing. Safety or keeping it safe enough for our protection as a whole. So this is why I am asking that you start paying attention to your food. You start wanting to learn more about, well, where do I start? How do I start going about planting my own food? Well, let me put it this way. If you can plant a garden, not necessarily a garden, just buy a plant. And if you can keep that plant alive, not everybody have a green thumb, but if you have that one plant, test yourself with just one plant, buy it, and if it survives, I know that's hard to say, and that might be a little cruel to say, but if it survives your watering, your love, your attention to it, then you do have what it takes in order to grow um, life into whatever that it is that you're trying to grow. It is important that we grow within ourselves. We learn different things and we go about protecting ourselves. And right now, I want us to protect ourselves through the foods that we eat. Now, last year was my first year that I ever had a garden. Now, my first year was a learning experience. Did I get upset when plants died? No, because I knew that was going to be an issue. I knew that one, didn't know what I was doing. Two, it was all new. I was trying something different. I was trying something where I did not have to put any anything into the ground, because right now for me, digging and holing into the ground is not something that I can physically do. So I had to find other ways in order to start my garden. So I chose containers, using containers to start your garden. And in that, I learned last year I was able to grow. I started watermelon, I started cantaloupe, bell pepper, tomatoes, and a few other things that I had that did not survive. But the one things that survived and did well was the bell pepper, the tomato plant, and there was and the green pepper and the bell pepper, not the bell pepper, the jalapeno peppers. Um, those three did very well, even though they yielded fruit. Um, I ended up having a lot of issues toward the winter coming in, not knowing what to do to protect them, thinking I'm protecting them, but I did not learn enough about the insects. Um, that would be eating on the worms that would be eating on the leaves, or the rodents, or the squirrels, or the other rodents that may walk around that may eat the fruit. So prior to moving, I lost all of my fruit, um, all of the bell pepper tree, the bush I had, and the tomato plant that I had, all due to um, uh, pests. And these pests just turn around and ate all the leaves. I mean, literally, not chomp, 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 but I mean, literally ate them off of the stem itself. So all of this, or what I was going through last year, taught me a lot of what to do and things of what not to do. Now, last year, because I was just trying my heart, I didn't know anything about the plant harshness zone, what zone that I lived in order to pay attention to what I can plant, when I can plant, what I can plant with another plant. These things I did not know last year, but in studying and then learning a little bit more about what to do, I learned that you can do a lot of things, but you have to pay attention. And it's okay. This is one thing about farming or gardening. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to lose plants. Plants are going to die. What's going to cause your plants to die? Number one is underwatering. Two, overwatering. Three, too much fertilizer. Um, Four, not enough sun or too much sun. All these things go into play when you're trying to start a garden. So it's important that you pay attention to what you want to do. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be doing this here as a series, so I want you to stay in contact with me. Do I know what I'm doing? No. I'm going to be straight up front. No, I do not know what I'm doing, but I am willing to learn enough to make sure that I get it right this time. I am willing to study, pay attention to what went wrong, learn how to make things right, make things better, learn how to do all these things. And as I come back with you later on in this series, we're going to talk about what kind of containers. So whether you want to plant above ground, in ground, in containers, hydroponics, which way you want to go, whether you want to go through virtual planting, going high up against the wall so it doesn't take up as much space. Um, it's important that we too know the enemy of the gardens of your plants, because each plant may have a particular enemy. So you want to make sure you know what those things are. So in a small space, we want to pay attention to what you can and cannot grow, but you can do a lot of things, especially in the kitchen. You can plant all of your herbs. A lot of the herbs can be done and planted in the kitchen itself on the counter. So there's a lot of things that you can do that we will be touching on as we go along. So um, just if you're interested, if you're interested, sorry about that, um, just continue to follow me and hit the like button and subscribe button so you can keep up with me. And for those of you that are really serious about planning, I know I'm just getting started, so I'm not a heavy duty person that you can follow, but I am if you are a newcomer into gardening. So, but if you really want to know some serious gardening, there are some serious YouTube videos on how to, and other farmers and other homesteaders that are showing their lives on how to do what they're doing as far as being able to grow um, everything they are willing and wanting to grow. So over the time, I'm gonna ask that you just follow up with me, and I'm gonna try to keep them as short as possible so I don't lose your attention and keep much of your time. But stay tuned on the next go round, and we'll be talking some more about our garden and what we're gonna do on our patio. Me getting my greenhouse up, trying to get it up, trying to get my dirts all mixed up and get them ready in order to start planting and have some of my flowers down by early spring so they can kind of do their thing. All right. So if you're interested, and just give us a look out and check out. Okay. All right. So you have a blessed and wonderful, wonderful day. And make sure you tell somebody that you love them. All right. Have a good one.